Hey, everybody. We're going to get started in about a minute. Just wanted to come in and say hi before we get started. Hey, everybody. Oh, I love it. Hi, Sylvia. This is awesome. I love this. Let's go ahead and we'll get started because we got a few things to go through today. Rue is outside, so I brought her home from the office. So we're going to pray that we don't have a crazy dog start barking. But if we do, I'll apologize in advance. I think God's just getting us prepared for what it's like to have kids. And some of you might be like, there's no comparison. But some days I'm like, maybe there is. I don't know. Hi, Danny. Hi, everybody. So glad you're here. Make sure you keep commenting. I can see them right now, but as we go through, Nikki's on the other side with us, so she can answer any questions. But I am going to have some time at the very end to make sure to answer any questions, so you can put them in the comments. Hi, Cantardos. And I will answer them at the very end. Unfortunately, we haven't figured out how to be able to see everything all at once. But there's two of us tag teaming. So if you need a question answered right away, Nikki will be able to do it. If not, we'll wait until the end. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to share my screen with you guys. So then that way we can get going. I'm going to make myself a little bit smaller and the screen a little bit bigger. And let's get going. All right. So if you didn't know what you're watching, I'm sure you probably do, but today we're going to talk about the paleo diet. So if you haven't heard about it, we're going to go through the ins and outs of it, pros and cons, what to do, what not to do, what is considered paleo. And then at the very end, I do want to talk about how you're going to be able to stick to this, because that is a big deal. Is I don't want this to be an hour of just information where nothing is being applied afterwards. We have plenty of information in this world. We have a lot less application. So let's get started. So let me go back. You just got a sneak peek of what that was like. But as a doctor, I'm a wife to my husband, Dr. Michael. I'll be a mom one day. I've just really seen, like, when you look around society, and I'm not just talking about right now, like with what's happening in the world, I'm really just talking about nutrition. But like when you see and you look around at society, like we're not doing so good, like at all. Like, and you don't even have to think like feeling wise, like I'm talking about numbers. Like when you look at the amount of not only like adult obesity, but childhood obesity, when we look at the amount of learning disorders, when we look at like lifestyle induced diseases that are happening in our world, like it is not getting any less, it's getting more. And when I think about those things, like it becomes very evident that what we're doing is not really working. But I also want us to step back for a second and be like, is the society that we're living in, like, is the world we're living in, like really helping us with that? Are they supporting us in creating and making healthy lifestyle choices? And I know that if you were sitting in front of me and I could see you, you'd most likely be like, no, not really. And the answer is you're right. And that's where it's like the only decision when it comes to your health that can be made. The ultimate thing is it is your decision. It's not up to me. So when we go through this next hour, like I am not putting any of this on me of like changing your lifestyle and changing the way that you're eating. That is absolutely your decision. But I want to tell you a little bit about my story, because the society, when I was 13 years old, was not helping me at all become healthy and become well whatsoever. So some of you know my story, but a lot of you don't. So this is me. This was about 2006, and I was 13 years old though when this first whole episode started of my health going downhill. So I was 13 and got diagnosed with a thyroid condition called Graves' disease. And your thyroid sits in the front part of your neck right here, and it controls your energy levels, it controls your metabolism. And what was happening is they said that my body was attacking it. And my mom, like, we drove an hour and a half to the best endocrinologist that there was. We lived in Illinois at the time, and we had to drive to OSF St. Francis. The guy took my blood, trying to figure out what was going on. And they're like, finally, we know what it is. Like, you have Graves' disease. And we're like, great. So what do we do? And he was like, we're going to give you radioactive iodine. We're going to burn your thyroid out, and then we're going to put you on thyroid medicine for your whole life. And I'm thankful my mom was like, absolutely not. That's not what we're doing. But you fast forward my life, and just like the doctor said, he was like, your thyroid's going to start to shut down. Your energy levels are going to go down. Your metabolism is going to go down. So basically like this fear-based thing where it's like, if you don't do this, like this is going to happen to you. Well, it did. My energy levels were crap in these pictures. Like you can also see I weighed about 200 pounds like the last time that I checked. Most of my outfits looked a lot like that, t-shirts and sweatshirts and sweatpants. Like I hated ever looking at myself in the mirror, let alone trying clothes on. Like it was just a miserable time in my life. And this is where society didn't give a crap about what they were going to do to help me. They were basically like, eat right, exercise. Well, what does that even mean? They were also like, you just need to take your thyroid out. It's not working right. And then we're just going to put you on pills. And I'm thankful that my best friend, Kaylee Judge, told me that I needed to go to a chiropractor. We actually hadn't talked in 2 years. She was like, we need to go to lunch together. So we went to lunch together. She told me about chiropractic, everything that there was to it. And I was like, holy smokes. And it changed everything for me. My entire life was changed through chiropractic. And that, like me being a chiropractor, I will never shy away from that. And that is why I know that today, when you take a look at my body, that's the outside, but what's really happening on the inside, someone actually started to care about me. And that's what I love so much about chiropractic, is that our philosophy is that healing comes from above, down, inside out. And that when I teach you nutrition today, like I'm not teaching you nutrition to treat anything, or because you could be overweight and you want to lose weight. Like I'm not teaching you nutrition for weight loss. I'm teaching you nutrition so that your body can get everything that it needs so that it can flourish, that it can heal, that it can work properly. And so when I did that and someone taught me and someone showed me, I think that's the beautiful thing about like the world that we do live in right now, is that there are a lot of people that are fed up like I was, and they're looking for a different answer and a different way to take care of their bodies. And there are so many of us that are out there that want to be able to help you and to guide you through, to help you to understand what you can do to keep your body working properly. And so I weigh 140 pounds now. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm in the best health of my life. And then I will tell you from right here, I practice what I preach, and I would never ask you to do something that I have never done myself. And so what I'm about to teach you today is something that I've had to struggle with. I haven't won this whole thing. This wasn't easy to go from the picture on the left to the picture on the right. Like there was good days and there was bad days. But the biggest thing that changed everything for me is this right here. So this is not my house. I really do love this house though. But it's a metaphor to really what and how you're going to make sure that this becomes a thing that keeps you going for a long time. So let's say you have a dream home. I don't know if this is my dream home. I just really love it. I love I love the factors of this. So, but looking at it, I'm like, well, I can't build this. So I'm going to have to find somebody who can build this for me. So let's say you got your dream home. It's in your mind. You're like, yes. And somebody recommends a contractor to you, and they are pretty reasonable. and they become super recommended. So you're like, all right, you go through the blueprints, you go through everything, you draw it out. You're like, yes, this is awesome. And as weeks start to go by, all of a sudden you're like seeing like things are like cutting corners. Like the foundation is cracking. You're like, what the heck is happening? Like they're using materials that aren't as good of quality. And you're like, what is going on? And he's like, well, we just need to cut some corners in some areas. So we're just not going to use as good of quality materials. And then weeks start to go by again. And the walls that are being built, like they're not up to standard. Like they start painting, but you see that they like are thinning out the paint so that it lasts a little bit longer. You start to see that the wiring is bad. They're putting in the appliances all wrong. And you're just like, it's over, it's done with, here's the product, this is what you thought it was going to be. And now it's like way less quality, maybe even something that you're ashamed of. And you're like, this is not what I had in mind. And it's the same thing with our bodies. Like you can build a new house, like you can take it from the ground up. Like we had a few patients and one of them had a fire in their home and the foundation was still great. They got to keep some of the walls and they built around it. Sometimes like in Nashville, like they're literally just throwing down homes because nothing is like good. The foundation is crumbling. And like, we get why the house wasn't built. Like we totally get that. Poor quality wood, poor quality stuff. Like it's not going to create a good quality home. It's kind of like the saying, like garbage in, garbage out. And that's where it's like what goes into building a home really does determine the outcome of what happens. And when you really think about your body, what you're putting in really does determine what you're going to get out. And if we step back to really think like, okay, so what will it take? Those of you that are overweight, what will it take for you to lose 40 pounds? What will it take for you to reverse a disease process? What does it actually take to have a good, solid mindset and a foundation that's so strong? What will that actually take? And when you think about it, for some of you, it might feel overwhelming. For some of you, you're listening and you have your nutrition pretty good. Like you just need some refining points or a reminder to get back on track. But some of you, your foundation has crumbled and that you've had quality or lack of quality of nutrients going into your system and you've got garbage coming out. But I want you to know that it's possible. But there are a couple things that we have to talk about before we even get into paleo. And some of you guys are like, when is she going to start talking about paleo? Well, I'm going to get there because when you think about it, like, you know that you should probably be eating way less sugar. You know that you probably shouldn't have ate that whole bag of jelly beans at Easter. Like, you know those things. And the foundation, just like the foundation to a house has to be completely level across, the ground underneath has to be level. That's what the whole house is built on. The foundation of nutrition is your mindset. That when those things come in, and what I'm going to teach you, it's not information, that when you change right inside of here, that's what's going to make it stick for the long haul. So I had to put this on here because I was like, that is funny. So why though? Like, why hasn't it already settled inside of your spirit, inside of your body to change the way that you're eating? And that's the biggest reason. Like, if you want to think any success worth anything, it takes time, money, effort. But it really takes a big reason why you would do this in the first place. But before we do that, like, sit with yourself and think about where you're at right now. To build a house, you have to have a blueprint. Like, you have to have a starting point. Where are you at? Are you doing all right? Are you not doing so good? When it comes to your nutrition or life, we can have a life conversation. I'm not afraid to have hard conversations. Are you doing great? You feel like you're doing good. You just are glad to be on here and maybe to see someone's face that you know that you can talk to. But where are you really at? But you have to figure out, why are you going to do this? Why are you going to change? Why is your grocery list going to look different when you go to the store this weekend? What's the biggest reason why you're going to do it? And a lot of times people say losing weight. And that's why on January 1st, losing weight is one of the biggest reasons that people have New Year's resolutions. But by February 14th, that's the average. Valentine's Day is when it all goes downhill because that wasn't a big enough reason why. So Dr. Michael and I, our why, we've had to develop this. It's different every season, just depending on what it is. But it's no longer about how I look like on the outside. Like that is a plus, and there's nothing wrong with wanting to look good on the outside. But we don't have kids yet. But when we have kids, like I am going to be there. I'm going to pick them up. I'm going to run around. Like I would never want my body to tell me otherwise. Then they're going to have kids and we're going to have grandkids and then we're going to have great grandkids. And then we're going to be the grandparents on the beach, like running and picking them up. But we know that the decisions that we make right now today is what's going to determine that for our future. Not what I do when I'm 60, but if you're 60, it's never too late. It's not what I'm going to do when I'm 50 or 40. It's what I'm going to do right now. The decision that you make today determines your future for what's going on. It's not the decision that you made 10 years ago or 20 years ago or what you did in high school or anything like that. It's what you're making today, that it's the last decision that you make that helps you go for your future. So what's holding you back? This is a real life thing. She could stand up in that jar. There's a lid on her. There's a lid on us. There's a law of the lid. That what's the lid that's keeping us from taking that lid off and becoming the person that God created us to be? He created us to have healthy marriages. He created us to have a healthy life. He created us to have amazing nutrition and that food that would nourish our bodies. He created us to move. He created all of those things. But what is holding us back? A lot of times it's a limiting belief that we either believe, you know, it costs too much. It takes too much time. It takes too much energy. Because out of one side of your mouth, you're like, I want to lose weight. I want to live longer. I want to be leaner. But in the other side of your mouth, it costs too much. It takes too much time. And I used to be like that. I wanted to be skinnier. I wanted to do all that. I thought I had to starve myself. There was no answers. There was no hope. And I'm here to just help squash that and to call you out if I need to. That if you're saying and speaking one thing, live it out too. In our office, we practice what we preach. And then if you're like, I don't know, all that you have to do is get your priorities straight. If health is a number one priority, which it should be, because then everything else bleeds inside of it. When health is your priority, everything else will come into play. Your grocery list will look different. How you shop will look different. What you eat will look different. What you put in your mind will look different. How you move will look different. All of it comes from your priorities that you put in place. But we have to have this conversation before we really get into logistics. Because if you tried it even before, here's a big one, and then we'll move on into those logistics. But some of you may have tried all the diets in the world before. You've tried paleo, you've tried keto, you've tried Whole30, you've tried vegan, you've tried vegetarian, you've tried portion control, you've tried all of those things and it didn't work for you. So subconsciously in your mind, you've already thought, even through these first, I don't know how many minutes, 15 minutes that we've been on here, that you're already subconsciously thinking you're not going to be able to do it this time either. And so then all of your decisions from your subconscious will change. I really want the Oreos. I'm just going to have it because who cares? I'm not going to lose weight anyway. Well, that mindset right there is what keeps us from actually getting into the place where we want to be. That it's a battlefield inside of fear, guys. Every single day. But when we get to the very end of this, I'm going to also show you some replacement things so that when those cravings come and when that stuff comes into your mind, you have an ability to change and start to make better decisions when we go through. So as we go through, there's two things I want you to keep in mind when we take this next however long. I'm going to just double check really quick to see where we're at. Okay, 18 minutes. Number one, avoid becoming overwhelmed with all of the information. Because everybody that's listening, you're at different levels. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Because what happens is that when some of you hear all of the lifestyle changes that you need to make, all the stuff that you're not supposed to eat, all the things that you need to change for your lifestyle, like you become so discouraged that you either think you're going to be deprived and you don't want to live in deprivation, or you think that you have to change everything at one time. So you don't have to do all of those things. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through. If you know that's you, don't bite off more than you can chew. Number 2, some of you are going to become so motivated. And you're going to try to make everything happen all at one time. Well, studies and research shows that that's not going to make a long-term change at all. Short-term, yes. Anybody can really do anything for 3 to 7 days. Like you can figure that out. You're going to become so motivated. You're going to change everything up, but then a hiccup's going to come and then bam, you come crashing down again. And then it's just this big cycle up and down, up and down, up and down. I've been there. It's no fun. So both of them are going to, whether you're over-motivated or you're overwhelmed in all of this, they're usually going to lead to failure. So at the very end of this, I'm going to give you 4 tips of how to make sure that it sticks so that you can do it little by little and start to make changes so then it lasts for a long time. Because paleo diet, I don't even like to use the word diet. I like to use the word lifestyle. So how does the paleo lifestyle work? Well, I want to give you a couple of background. So that word paleo comes from the word Paleolithic. So there's a lot of people that have been a part of this paleo movement, if you will, but every single one of them says that they didn't actually start it. Like it's been from the Paleolithic times. So our ancient ancestors lived this way for a really long time, and they're just helping put it into books and put it into places where we can go and we can find quick ways to start to live a paleo diet. But every single one of them, the baseline is that it's genetically helpful for our bodies. Like what our ancestors did in the hunters and gatherers times, like this is what this is based off of. How they ate is how they genetically ate during that time. Like they didn't have Whole Foods, they didn't have Trader Joe's, they didn't have Publix or Kroger. They ate innately inside of what they genetically needed. They ate what they could get in that moment. They ate what was grown on the earth. They ate what they were able to kill that day. For a week, they would walk to where they got it. They would have to actually literally hunt and not go to the grocery store and pick up a pound of ground beef. Like they had none of those things. So that's the background behind it. And there's a couple people, Rob Wolf. I'm going to give you guys a few of my favorite websites and podcasts at the end of this as well, because I'm not going to give you a bunch of recipes because there's a lot of people that have already done that. I don't need to recreate the wheel. I do have for you a food list that you'll get for free at the very end, so that can help give you a good guideline. But people like Rob Wolf, there's people that have Mark Sisson. There's also Mark's Daily Apple. There's a bunch of places of people that have started to create this paleo movement. And a lot of times you'll see it if you've ever heard of CrossFit. CrossFit is a gym, like they call them boxes or gyms, where they do a lot of high intensity interval training with weights, and they do a lot of Olympic movements, and they support the paleo diet for the most part. So you see a lot of that connected together when it comes up. But paleo diet compared to Western diet is completely different. So Western diet is like what we eat in America, a lot of processed foods, a lot of unhealthy fats. Paleo is the exact opposite of what that is. So if you are very much used to eating a standard American diet, this might seem a little bit different. Some of you that have been eating like a ketogenic diet, this is different in the fact that you don't count anything. You're not counting macros. You're not counting micros. You're not counting protein, carbs. So it allows you to eat as long as it's real food, coming from a great source, coming from the ground, coming from the earth. That right there is the basis of how the paleo diet works. I literally have every dog in here. So this is amazing. So the focus, we're going to start here. the focus when it comes to the paleo diet is it should be a diet that's high in fat. So if you see that on the left-hand side, you see coconut, you see butter, you see olive oil. But you're not counting anything. The real part about this is that the quality of your fats is healthy. Then in the middle part right there, it's a moderate intake of animal protein. And we're going to get into each one of these individually. And then it's low to moderate in carbohydrates. We're not counting calories on the paleo diet. We're not worrying about our portion control on the paleo diet. The biggest thing is that we're not eating a bunch of processed foods. We're not eating boxed foods. The basis is that we're eating real food that our ancient ancestors that once roamed the earth, that is what we're eating. That's what we're keeping our diet and lifestyle based off of. So let's get into this part first. So you really want to eat a generous amount of what are known as saturated fats. Those are coconut oil. Those are butter. You may have heard of things like ghee, Ghee, that's clarified butter. In the middle part, you might have heard of things like beef tallow. Maybe you haven't, but that's like taking an actual bone, cutting it in half. Like there's beef marrow inside of it. That is very much encouraged on the paleo diet. Also like lard and duck fat. Those are good. And the reason is because as long as it comes from a good source, like you're not just going up, because I was looking and getting some oils at the store and I saw a big thing of lard at the very top and I was like, we don't buy lard, but I wanted to see what was in it. And it was so processed and so conventionalized that that's not the type of lard that you want. You want like real lard that our grandmas used to use, like making food, the lard that they would take off of an animal in the past, like in the hunter-gatherers. That's the type of fat and like lard that you want to be consuming. So beef tallow, lamb tallow, also olive oil, avocado oil, macadamia nut oil. That's what you see on the right-hand side. Those are healthy fats that you want to drizzle over salads, like eat a lot of, okay? Then let's get into meats. Also, make sure that you ask any questions because everybody's at a different level when it comes to what this means. So if you have any questions about anything, please make sure to put them in the comments. Then, when it comes to protein, you have to make sure that it comes from a good source. So I'm going to show you this picture. Like it has to be from grass-fed cows. It has to be from pasture-raised chickens, like in cage-free chickens. On the paleo diet, if you've been any other of my nutrition workshops, I talk about pork a lot and I talk about how not really eating a whole lot of pork because it comes from an unclean animal, not from a religious standpoint, but that it needs to come from a good source. On the paleo diet, they don't discriminate between any of those stuff. So you can have pork on the paleo diet. You can have beef on the paleo diet. You can have eggs. You can have chicken. You can have fish. You can have shellfish. Like you can have any of the meats. And you don't need to be afraid of the fatty cuts either, because that right there will contain the good healthy fats because it's coming from a good source. They also encourage eating a lot of, you can see there's a heart right there and a liver. So they also encourage eating organ meats. Now, organ meats are super healthy for you. In our household, we don't eat it on a weekly basis, but probably a bi-weekly basis, especially Dr. Michael. He'll have some sort of a liver, a kidney, or a part of a heart. We make tacos out of it. You can make liver and onions. It's one of my mom's favorite foods. Like you can use liver and you can get creative with it. Some of you are like, oh my gosh, no, don't start there. Like this is like if you just haven't gotten good healthy beef cuts from like Tennessee grass-fed or gone to a farmer's market or bought organic meats, like that's where you start. If you're adventurous, you can let us know. We usually have liver and heart at our office and you can pick up some and we can show you how to make it, or at least tell you how to make it. You can get creative with it. We also have eggs at the office. We have ground beef at the office that is all coming from a good source. They also encourage that you would keep the bones out of the meats and make things like chicken broths and chicken stocks, like using the entire thing. So a lot of times in the ancient days, they would use the entire animal. Every part of it they would eat. Every part of it had a purpose. And when they were done, they had like the big stock pots that they would put all the bones in, and they would create soups that were so healing to the body. So don't just throw the chicken away, or maybe you're used to buying the cuts already cut yourself, and maybe go paleo with it and buy a whole chicken and learn how to cut the chicken apart and then keep the carcass of it and create your own chicken broth. We do that. So we do a lot of crock pot cooking with whole chickens and beef bones, so they can have all of those good nutrients that are inside of it. So you want to make sure that you use good, healthy cuts of meat. It's like the house. Like, you want to have good quality meat inside of your body so that you're creating good quality parts of your house, okay? So then let's go into the vegetable section. So that one on the left-hand side is frozen vegetables. So it's not like ice, but don't like put a tomato inside of your ice cube tray, but you could. I've never done it before, but that really means like frozen vegetables, fresh vegetables, and then those are root vegetables on the side. So you really want to eat a generous amount. Like, you want a lot of your plate to be full of either frozen vegetables, fresh vegetables. Paleo encourages them to be either cooked, or you can do them raw. Serve them with fat on top of it. Like, sometimes you can drizzle them with olive oil. You can roast them with avocado oil. Starchy vegetables like the sweet potatoes and the yams, those are also a great source of carbs on the paleo diet. Okay, let's talk about fruit. Low to moderate amount of fruits and nuts. Try to eat fruits still low in sugar. There is a banana there, there's pear there. They're higher in sugar, but they're still okay on the paleo diet. When Dr. Michael and I eat more paleo, we still stick to the lower sugar fruits. So those are like berries, lemons and limes, Granny Smith apples. They're higher in antioxidants, so we always just stick with those. And every now and then we'll have a banana. We usually eat them in the morning. So the biggest thing from paleo standard, because a lot of times they'll talk about a paleo lifestyle, like you just live a paleo lifestyle in every aspect that you do. So depending on where you lived in the world back in the day, like there weren't bananas for you, and there weren't always berries for you. So really eating in season and thinking about how would they have ate back in the day. They would have only ate things that were right there on the bush. So think about when berries come into season. Think about when bananas come into season, watermelon, like any kind of a fruit. Really try to eat those in season because they will help. And then when it comes to nuts, the same thing is true. So, but the nuts are high in omega-3s. They're low in omega-6s, especially like macadamia nuts. But consider cutting them, however, because if you have things like autoimmune issues, digestive issues, or you want to lose weight faster, like eating a lot of high sugar fruits isn't going to get you there. Eating a whole ton of nuts isn't going to get you there. Like if you're allergic to them, or if you don't do very well with certain types of these foods, please don't eat them only because they're on the paleo diet and you're trying to follow the paleo diet. Also listen to your body. That was one thing that I know that they did back in the day. They would listen to their body. They would eat what was available to them right then and there. So this next part I want to get into, that's all the things that you want to add more of. Now let's talk about the things that are not paleo, okay? You can see right there, grains, corn, bread, and then what you see right there are peas, or what are also known as legumes. So any food that was not easily available to our ancestors in the Paleolithic times should not be in our diet. So they didn't go to the store and get bread. The wheat that they had wasn't the same wheat that we have processed in the stores today that we buy in a bag, like a bag of rice and all that stuff. So anything that you think like, oh, would they have bought this, or would they have, well, they wouldn't have bought it, but would they have had this back in the day? I don't really know. But you really want to cut out all cereal grains. This means like wheat, rye, barley, oats, corn, brown rice, soy, peanuts, pinto beans, navy beans, black-eyed peas. So we want to keep those at a off limit. If maybe just a little bit, okay? So anything that you see right here in this next one, really, actually, the body doesn't process that top line very well, like at all. It's not the same that it was in ancient times. Like, it's not. Like, ancient grains are the closest that we could get to what our ancestors would have ate. But right now, because of everything being so refined and so processed, we want to get rid of that as much as possible. Now, when it comes to oils, what you see here is sunflower oil, you see corn oil, and then you see peanut oil. So those are hydrogenated oils. So that means that unlike a coconut oil and avocado oil, they're stable. Hydrogenated oils like those, when they are processed through a factory, they become what's known as rancid or hydrogenated, meaning that what health benefits that they originally had are now no longer, because they heat up the whole oil so high that it's lost all the nutrient contents to it completely. So then putting that's not healthy fats going inside of your body. It's actually doing the opposite and creating inflammation inside of your body. And they didn't have that back in the day. They had none of those things. Those are all man-made fats, okay? Avocado oil, olive oil, coconut oil, those are all fine. Now, this next part, you can clearly see why this is off limits in not only the paleo diet, but most diets. So anything that is added sugar into your life, you do not want that to be a part of it. So any added sugar like soft drinks, packaged sweets, juices, even including fruit juices, even the juices that are at Clean Juice and Urban Juicer and Juice Bar, even though it's a juice bar, a lot of them can still have so much sugar inside of it. That's why we usually only get the green juices, because they're not going to have a bunch of orange juice sugar inside of it. So you want to keep those to greens. A rule of thumb when it comes to paleo is that if it's in a box, don't eat it. They didn't buy any box foods back in the day. If you think that the only place that you can get it is the grocery store, it might be something that you would think of. Like if you went to the farmer's market and bought everything there that they had not out of a box, but from the actual farmer itself, that is the type of food that you want to be eating on the paleo diet. Now, next, let's talk about dairy. This is where it's like controversial. And in some paleo things, they talk about absolutely no dairy whatsoever at all. But there's also people that are like, well, butter's considered dairy and it's considered okay. Heavy cream is considered okay, as long as the source that it comes from a healthy place. But it's still processed. Like cheese is still processed. Like they didn't have really access to cheese back then. Raw milk, they probably could have based off the cow or the goats, like goat's milk, they could have it. But you really want to eliminate all dairy. I think the only things that are okay are really butter and heavy cream. I do eat some cheese, but it comes from a raw cheese source. So if you know that you're don't do very well with dairy or dairy intolerant, I would just cut this out completely. If you want to see how your body does and how it responds differently. So the story behind me and dairy is that when I eat just regular conventional dairy cheese, I get sinus issues, I get phlegm, almost immediately. But when I eat raw cheese means that it's not processed like conventional cheese. So they don't heat it up super high. They actually heat it low. The way that they process, it's less processed cheese. So my body doesn't do that. So it's not that I'm actually allergic to cheese. I'm just allergic to the process that they put it through and the chemicals that they put inside of it, that my body just doesn't do very well with it. So you can see how your body responds to it. But if you already know that you don't do very well with dairy, cut it out. If you want to try it, it has to be raw, full fat, and organic. And sometimes you can use fermented dairy like kefir. So Kefir. It's a fermented dairy drink. You can try that and see how your body does with those things. But a rule of thumb is that they probably wouldn't have access to dairy back in the day. So you might just want to go ahead and cut it out completely. So moving on. When it comes to like eating paleo, as long as you have all the real food in your diet, you don't really need to take a whole lot of supplements. If I were to recommend some though, however, it would be taking vitamin D3 and magnesium. And the reason is because vitamin D3, now you see the meat all around it, you see liver, you see egg yolks, all of that. Those are the actual food sources that you can find vitamin D3 in. But the best way to get it is through the sun. But this is one of the most efficient vitamins that we have in our entire world, like in global, like everywhere. Like most people are not getting vitamin D. We're inside all the time. I mean, right now, thankfully, like if you're going for walks, like you're out getting some vitamin D, but it's freezing and freaking snowed today. Like we need that to take that. It boosts your immune system up. So there's no better time than to take it right now. I recommend taking 5,000 to 10,000 IUs, taking more if you're not feeling well. If you're feeling a little bit under the weather, take more of that. It is fat soluble. So you want to make sure that you do take it with a meal. And you want to be making sure that you're taking vitamin D3. The reason that we add probiotics in there is because vitamin D3 is absorbed in your small intestine. So when you have probiotics and vitamin D3 together, it helps to be absorbed a lot better because you're either not getting enough vitamin D3 or it's not being absorbed into your body. So that kills two birds with one stone. Then magnesium glycinate, you can see all of that right there that you can get magnesium in if you want to eat it. I just recommend taking it because there's over 300 different chemical reactions that happen in your body that magnesium is a part of. And if we're not eating a healthy diet, you need to be taking magnesium. It helps with your heart. It helps with your bones. It helps with cognitive function. There's literally so much that it does that I don't want to be deficient in it. It would be as if you're building a house and you can't get you're looking for a piece of wood that goes across like this and you can't find it in the store. If your body can't find magnesium to build something, then you're in trouble. So those are the two that I recommend. There's a couple different things that you can do because I know this is a webinar. You're not in the office to get the supplements, but every time that we do these webinars, we also want to honor you for being on and give you a discount. So it's 15% off in the office for those of you that are patients. Nikki has the phone right now. You can text her at 615-927-4571, and you can let her know if you want those, and she can set them aside for you so that you can get them at your appointment. However, if you are not a patient in our office, and also patients, if you are quarantining yourself or however that looks, we also do curbside no contact, so we can have those set aside. You can let us know during office hours and we can bring those out to you. If you are not a patient in our office, but you still want these supplements, Nikki's going to put links to these supplements. The only thing, I can't give you a discount on them, so you do have to pay full price for those, but know that you have access directly to the supplements that Dr. Michael and I take. You can click on those links that are in the comments section. This is the food list that I made for you guys. Nikki's gonna put the link directly to it. It's from our newest website called the Health Majors, and we created a new website. We're super excited about it, but there is the entire paleo food list that you can take with you. You can print it off, click that link. You can get it for free. You can share it with people. Just as my gift for you guys today for being on this webinar. This one, you might want to take a screenshot or take a picture of it. These are my favorite websites when it comes to learning more about the paleo diet. They're also where I get my recipes. So I don't make up any recipes. I just go to where people are already making up the recipes. I use Pinterest a lot too. So I'll type in like paleo pizza. So then I know that I'm going to have some recipes that are popped up. Paleo, oh my God, is so good, or OMG. That's what it's for. She's super awesome, has so many recipes. She also has her clothes. She loves fitness. She talks about CrossFit. The paleo diet is super simple and easy to understand. Mark's Daily Apple, Rob Wolf, Nom Nom Paleo. So that's more of like Asian paleo recipes. Some of my favorites. She has a lot of free recipe guides as well. Everyday Paleo is also amazing. My favorite podcast to listen to is Primal Blueprints, the Paleo Solution, and the Paleo View. So if you want to learn more about it, you can go on there and get some more specifics from the professionals about the paleo diet. So how are you going to make this stick? So number one, I want you to think about this as positive eating. Not negative eating, not anything other than just like putting more positivity around how you're eating food. And the way I want you to think about this is like, you know, a baby, like a kid, when they're first born, they don't know how to walk, like at all. Some of you, you are an infant, you are a newborn when it comes to nutrition. So don't expect to get this at 100%. Because first they start to crawl, then they start to pull themselves up, and then eventually they walk, and then they fall, and then they walk farther, and then they take their first step. And then from there, you never forget how to walk again. Like no one has to teach you how to walk again. No one has to go through all that unless something drastically happens in your life and you have to learn how to do that, to connect your body together, but you know how to do it. And that's where Dr. Michael and I and our team are at with nutrition. Like we are walking, like this is how we do it. This is what we do. Like we really won't go back to another way of eating. We're eating as much real food as we possibly can. We're eating close to the paleo, keto, all of that on a daily basis. Like we don't have to learn those things, but at one time we did. And for those of you that are there, one step at a time. So the very first thing, it's a rule. So I'm going to go through the 4 things that are going to help make it stick. Number 1, it's called the addition rule. Addition. So adding instead of subtracting. So how this works, so instead of eliminating the bad first, what I want you to do is add some of the goods, because most people are overfed and undernourished. So we need to just get some nutrients into your body so it can start to work properly. You can start to feel a little bit better by nourishing your body with the good stuff. So once you become more nourished, then you're going to be able to make better decisions and better choices as you go through. Because have you ever told someone or someone told you that you couldn't have something? That you had to give up something? Like it's almost like you have this instant attachment to what that thing is, and then all you want is about it, and it literally becomes all you can think about and focus, and nothing else matters until you actually get it, and then you're like, oh, thank God. Like you feel deprived. Like that's not where, like that's how our pattern, like in our brains work. And so we want to go the opposite of how that works. So adding good things in and nourishing your bodies, like eating an apple before you eat your cereal, those types of things to help your body respond better to positivity than to negativity. Okay. Number 2, replacements. So this is when it comes to temptation. So it's out there, it's real, it's going to happen. Like, I don't know what it is for you. For me, it's chips. It's always been chips and cheese. Those are my things that like I eat my feelings through chips and cheese. If I'm having a bad day, it's like chips and cheese. For some of you, it's pizza. For some of you, it's wine. For some of you, it's chocolate. Like, you know what it is for you. But here's where I want you to start doing some replacing. So if you're like, oh my God, I need pizza right now. So whether you're going to buy one from the store or you're going to make one at home, just try to do something different, like a whole grain pizza. Even though that's not paleo, it's a replacement to start getting you to start moving in that right direction. Or maybe it's like you order Dolce Vita, where you order, I don't even know if like Papa John's or anything has gluten-free crust, but they might like make one change in one choice that's different that you normally wouldn't have. Ice cream, we always buy non-dairy ice cream. So Delicious is the brand that we buy. It's coconut milk ice cream. We buy the one that says no sugar added on the top. We just got some for Easter, so we ate some. But go for a non-dairy brand. Something else that's made with coconut milk or almond milk. Those are the brands that are right there. So Delicious or Rice Stream. Maybe you love cereal. Try granola and use almond milk or coconut milk instead of regular milk. If you are a sugar sweet tooth, maybe do something different like raw honey or fresh fruit juice or unrefined maple syrup or stevia or monk fruit. Use a different source of where that comes from. Chips. So this is how I get through my chip situation. Siete chips and grain-free paleo puffs. Dr. Michael bought some grain-free paleo puffs. They're amazing. I mean, we eat the whole bag. Well, I eat half the bag. He eats the other half of the bag. Like, it happens. It is what it is. But we have those things that we buy instead of Doritos and Cheetos and all of that. If you love like rich, just decadent chocolate desserts, try doing, or pastries, try going whole grain with it, non-dairy, chemical-free, sweetened with something like raw fruit or raw honey. Or if you are a fast food person and you crave just a fast food burger, try really going and making yourself a homemade grass-fed beef burger. I know somebody listening, and she texts me and she goes, "Oh my gosh, grass-fed beef just changed my life. Like, it tastes so much different. It tastes so good." It does. It tastes so good. And you won't want something else because it's subpar. The quality of it is bar none when it comes to fast food. And then cheese, we talked about that, raw organic cheese, or you can try something like nutritional yeast. This is what like vegans use for cheese. It's a powder. It does not melt, so it won't do any of those things. So one, we have addition rule. Number two, replacing food. Those are some ideas. If you have any questions about some, let me know, because we still eat pizza. We still do all of that stuff. We just make it and replace it and use it, and it looks just a little different. The other way that this is going to work is you have to move. Like the synergy between diet and exercise, there's nothing like it. You know, sometimes people are like, well, I worked out, so I deserve a pizza. I think that's some part of it, but I really think that when you exercise, you really don't want to sabotage what you just did. So it helps you to make better decisions when it comes to your health. So remember, though, that it can take any shape or form that you want it to. We don't really use the word exercise in our office anymore. We use movement. So as long as your body is moving, you're in a great place. Some of you right now, you're walking every day. That is amazing. You never used to do that. Or you're walking longer, or you're figuring out home workouts and you've never really done that before. And that is amazing. Like your body is moving. So then it helps to create this more like, it creates a better diet in your life because you have everything synergistically working together. So CrossFit is the one thing that works with paleo. I know I already said that, but that doesn't mean that's what you have to do. So like if you look on a lot of the paleo things and they talk about CrossFit, that might not be for you, but if it is, go for it. Learn some of the movements, learn some high intensity interval training, just do something and move. And then the last thing, sleep. Aren't they cute? If you sleep more and you sleep 7 to 9 hours in a night, you are less likely to eat bad. No joke. But here's what I want you to think about. How can you improve your sleep quality so that it can bleed into every other area of your life, especially nutrition? So the very first thing, I want to make sure that you're sleeping in complete darkness. So I've had blackout curtains for a really long time that I bought off of Amazon that we've never put up until about 2 weeks ago. Our sleep is so different now because there's no light coming in whatsoever. Even a little bit of sliver of light can affect your melatonin levels, can affect your brain, can affect your pineal gland. Like it can affect all of those things inside of your brain if there's a little sliver of light coming into your bedroom. Crazy, right? And then another thing that's happening right now, and I know because it's Netflix and chill, because Dr. Michael and I, our bedtime has been a little later than normal, but we've been watching TV a little bit longer. We've been watching it a little bit more than we lately have. And so that can affect how your body sleeps. So I just want to challenge you that you set even a bedtime right now. If you're in quarantine, read something before you go to bed. That will help calm your mind and you get a better sleep. Another thing, wear socks at night if your feet are cold. And the reason is because it creates circulation inside of your body. You want to keep your feet nice and warm. And that's going to help you sleep a little bit longer. No loud alarms. Some of you I don't even know if you have alarms right now, which has probably been the most amazing thing ever, but no loud alarm clocks when this is all over. Okay. Some of you also need to maybe just turn your alarm clock so you don't see what time it is, because you wake up at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., and it makes you even more nervous that you're not able to sleep because you keep looking at the time. That's going to bleed into everything else when you wake up in the next day. And then the last thing is going to bed, making sure that you're asleep between 11 p.m. and 1 a.m. The reason is that's when your adrenals do the most recovery. So we want to make sure that your adrenal gland is working properly, that your brain is working properly. And so then that way it'll reduce cravings. It'll help to just bleed into every other part of your day because you had a good night sleep. Okay. Last thing we're going to do is a Q&A. Before we do that, Nikki's going to put in there, you can connect with us. I know virtual is like the thing to do right now, but we have Instagram. We're also starting our podcast. If you follow us on Instagram, we're going to have a poll here tonight if I can put it up, or tomorrow. We're going to relaunch our podcast hopefully by May 1st, and we got a new logo, so we want to know your opinions and your thoughts when it comes to that. Our next upcoming events are April 20th. So next Monday at 6 p.m., we're doing another live. This is with Dr. Michael and I. It'll be a little bit longer on Facebook and YouTube, wherever you're watching us, at 6 o'clock. This is for people that want to be moms, because we're going to talk about pregnancy, people that are nannies, people that have kids, whether they are from 0 years of age to 18. So we're covering that whole spectrum of children and what that looks like. If you are an aunt, if you're a grandma, if you're a grandpa, you can also share this with people so that they can learn. So if you know any families that keeping their kids healthy and keeping them well, what that looks like from a standpoint of nutrition, exercise, detox, chiropractic, mindset. We're going to go through every single one of those from 0 to age 18, and beginning with pregnancy. And the next webinar that I'm doing series, if that's a word, but we just did Paleo. The next one will be on Tuesday, May 5th. If you know what Whole30 is or have heard of Whole30, I'm going to talk through the ins and outs of Whole30. And we're going to do another webinar at 5:30 on a Tuesday. So I'm going to open this up. We got the next 5 minutes here with you guys to see if there are any questions. Love it. Good. Looks like Nikki has answered a bunch of the questions. If you just heard Rue. Yes. Good, good, good. Looks like Nikki crushed it. I'm going to go through this. I don't want to just sit here in silence with everybody, but I just want to thank you for being on this. We're going to continue to do webinars as life changes. Praying for you guys. Know that that's what's happening every single day on our end for you and your family. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I'll put my email right here at the bottom. It's Dr. Cassie at majorfamilychiropractic.com. And you can reach out to me if you have any additional questions as we go through. I love each and every one of you. And I hope you have an amazing night. And I'll see you hopefully next Monday or when we do Whole30. Have a great night, guys.